Hey people, welcome to Estudly Podcast, #2, number 2. We have two new guests over here, which are actually not guests, but they will be co-starring with hopefully in every other podcast. We'll try to get their confirmations. So we have Alin here. You might have already seen Alin in a previously Estudly Live. And we also have Altaz. I'm not going to try to butcher their introduction, so I'm going to ask Alin to introduce himself.
Thank you. My name is Eileen, and as
I
Aman
keep on
said, I've
I
already.
keep on mispronouncing it. Ellie. Sorry.
No problem. No
Okay,
problem.
continue.
Yeah. So as Aman said, I've already been on the live, and I love doing this stuff, talking to the public, and being in touch with whatever happens globally. And career-wise, I think I'll start my bachelor's in economics. So that's something about me.
Okay, well, Altaz, what about you?
Okay, my name is Altaz Darwala. I don't drink, rather, I don't sell either. I'm a video game developer, a software engineer, and a business enthusiast. So, yeah, that's about me. And leading to the topic of discussion today, let Aman introduce the topic.
Actually, that's a good segue. You are a video game developer, so let's talk about video games. Okay, top 3 video games that you guys love, story-wise, action-wise, whatever. This is in the moment of the spur question. Top 3 video games that you love. I'm going to start with mine. My first is Detroit Become Human. Amazing graphics, amazing video game. Just love it. I have not played that game, but I have seen it and it's amazing. Second is Spider-Man PS4. That game is phenomenal. Not only story-wise, but that swing is, I think we're going to convert this into a top 5. But the third one is, I don't know if you guys have heard of Limbo or Inside. Like that, those indie games, it's just a 2D platformer. But that game, that story it has is, oh my God, it's good. Also, top runner, honorable mentions, BioShock Infinite. Amazing story. Once again, mind-bending time travel stuff. And I don't know. I mean, there are like general action stuff like, hey, you have Call of Duty and stuff, but that doesn't have that much of a story. But yeah, really love these small indie games. Oh, Little Nightmares 1 and 2, amazing sound effects. Just good stuff. Those are indie games. That's the stuff I usually play. Let's ask Altaz about what kind of games does he play.
Okay, I don't have a favorite game to be. I don't have a specific favorite game, but I do like a lot of genres. I like GTA. I mean, it's one of my go-to games whenever I feel bored, or one of the best games made, I guess, according to me. I also like games like Need for Speed, and there are games like PUBG, which I don't necessarily like, but I do have a lot of interest, and I'm building such games myself. So yeah, I admire those types of games as well, where you tend to communicate and have a real life simulation, I guess. So those are games that I love. Moving on to Ali.
Just to clarify, Aline, the mic issue from Alta's side, is it just me or like is that common? Altaz, I think you are having a bit of a voice modulation issue, I think because of your AirPods. If you remove Bluetooth, that should work. I have no idea. But yeah, if you're recording from your end, I think we can fix it, but we'll see.
Okay. Is it okay now?
It's better. It's better, but yeah. We'll go to Aline or Aline.
The first game I would say is Uncharted 4. Very good story, and you just enjoy the whole time. Like everything that the game gives you, it's like all fun. Then I would go with Miles Morales, Spider-Man, the PS5 version, because of the insane ray tracing. Like the reflections on that game is out of the world, like on point reflections. And let me think. GTA 2, because like of course it's like one of the best game. Like you can just chill on that game and like do whatever you want to roam around.
Classics.
And yeah, Need for Speed 2. Yes.
Okay, when you say GTA 2, do you mean the San Andreas or do you mean
No, no,
those
GTA
games?
5.
You
GTA
said
5.
GTA 5. I heard GTA 2. And I was like
No, no. I
confused.
said
Like, is that?
GTA 2, like the
Oh,
T-O-O-2.
oh, okay. Okay.
Yes.
I was like really confused. I was like, does he mean San Andreas and stuff? But like, those are very classic games. You can
Yeah.
never go wrong with them. But yeah, makes sense.
Also, God of War, like that has
God of War, PS4.
insane,
Oh boy.
insane story.
Yeah. Like for people who God of War games, if you're like, hey, God of War games usually just have fighting and it's just like an upper camera. No, the God of War PS4 version is amazing in story. You don't have, see, if you don't have a PS4 or PS5, I don't have it. But the reason I know about these games is because they are amazing. You can just go watch them online because they are so cinematic. Also, fun fact about God of War, it's a single take camera. There are no camera cuts in the entire game. Like, you know how in movies you have camera cuts, like one camera goes from here to here, there's a cut. There is not a single cut in the entire game. There's not a single loading screen. And I think that is amazing. Like, it's really fun how they switch between levels. You must be knowing, because to switch between levels, you go through this like a blue realm, which is in fact a loading screen, but you don't notice it because you know you are so interactive and all the story things happening. Phenomenal game. Also, so yeah, as I was saying, you guys can watch it. There are many channels. One I would personally suggest is Jacksepticeye. He has this amazing, explanations about how those games work. Little Nightmares, Detroit Become Human, God of War. I watched them on his channel. They're amazing. Oh, also, when you say God of War, for some reason in my head, the Tomb Raider games triggered. I recently played the entire Tomb Raider trilogy on my MacBook. It's good. It's really good. Like MacBook can barely handle it because, like, you have to go through like 2 layers of, virtualization. It's good. The story is really good. It's really cinematic. So, like, I personally think it's awesome. Yeah. Altaz, as a game developer, yeah.
I personally haven't played God of War yet, but I'm looking forward to it since I've I've heard a lot about it. So yeah, I'll be playing it right now after this podcast. I'll be downloading it. Sorry.
That's okay. I am
saying.
assuming you do have other work on a Sunday evening, but yeah, go ahead. It's really a good game. I think it's amazing. See, the reason I think games are amazing, and like some people are like games are too addictive. The games are this. I don't personally believe that, because for me games are just an alternate version of a medium. It's just like a movie, but it's more interactive, especially those story-based games. If you have heard of the Telltale gaming series about Batman Arkham Knights, right? They are basically just movies, but you have to now make choices. Even Resident Evil 8 Village, I guess, it's once again, it's a very cinematic game. You can get through the entire, game, and you can just like assume that, oh, it's a movie. You're watching movie, but now you're interacting with it. So yeah, I guess. Okay, what are your thoughts about it, Ali? Aline? I swear I'm not messing it on purpose.
It's fine. Like, people have called me like a ton of different stuff, so I've like lost the consciousness of like being called something else.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I
you're
think,
just numb to the pain.
Yeah, I've like given up. So I think what you said, like it being like a whole cinematic journey, I do agree. Like a few games are like purposefully made on like that note. Like for example, we take the Spider-Man series. So like the whole thing is like how for example in like the Spider-Man PS4 version, we see how Miles Morales becomes Spider-Man, and then like the continuation of the game in Miles Morales, we get to play as him. So like that whole journey, even though you're interacting with stuff, the story like is in line perfectly. So you already know what you can expect to some like level, but you still have to make those choices, and like that's where it becomes more interesting than just going to watch a movie. And like it's then like the screenwriter's choices, not your own choices that you make. And yeah, I think all these games like Uncharted 4, it is almost like, you're going through the whole screenplay. Like it's already written, but still you have to be in it. So it's like, you're the main character and you just go around doing stuff. So I completely agree with that point.
It's okay. When you say screenwriting and how the journey happens, Detroit Become Human is a completely different, like it just takes all of that and throws it out of the window. It's like you're watching a movie or a show which has different endings. As far as I know, Detroit Become Human has more than 200 different game endings. So like based on your choices, you are a part of that play. If you make different choices, some characters may die forever. Some characters may have a different ending. That's why I think it's a piece of art, but yeah, because it's an interactive medium. And usually when people refer like, games being addictive and mind numbing, I think they are referring to those grinding games where you have to do the same task over and over again. Or, I mean, there are some like, games which have like high level of violence, God of War 3, Doom Eternal, all those games. But I mean, once again, the violence thing is completely different. But yeah, what is your take, Altaz, on the?
While I do agree that you get the illusion of choice, that you are making the decisions, I prefer movies over games, being a video game developer, because I do think that you can waste a lot of time in games. I do agree that you get to be interactive, you get to, I mean, play the character, but a movie has an ending. It has a definite ending. You will be wasting or utilizing, or whatever the word may be. You may be utilizing almost 3 hours for a thing, and you get the satisfaction that you have completed it in a limited amount of time. While in video games, there are games that I know people are playing from almost 3 years now, and still they are not confident that they have completed the game. So yeah, I do believe that for me, movies are bigger than video games, and in the industry wise as well. I think movies and animations are better than video games, and you tend to waste a lot of time in video games. That's what my point of view is.
Okay, it seems like you are shooting yourself in the foot when you say that I like you prefer movies, but you are a video game developer. But okay, multiple things. It's sometimes it's like, okay, you have seen. I guess there's this quote, right? Okay, once you have seen how the bread is made, you don't like eating bread. It's like one of those areas. Like once you have, like even with programming, like once I've seen how the actual machine learning thing happens on the background, people like, oh, AI this, AI that. I'm like, no, shut up. That's not how it works. Stop glorifying it. Maybe we guys are glorifying video games, but you on the backhand have seen that. And I agree, as a game developer, you sit on the background and be like, okay, this level ends this way. Like if you check out, there's this series, developer reacts to speedrunners on IGN. Amazing series. That's like developers just sit down and they just like laugh at how speedrunners blaze through their entire level in like 16 seconds, and it took them like over an year to just make that level. So kind of funny. Also, it raises a few philosophical questions, like what does it even mean to complete a game? Like, is it the 100% completion with achievements? Is it like, what are you talking about? So kind of agree, but
yeah. So my point of view was, you in movies you get a story, right? I agree that in games you get a story, but how many of us watch a story? I don't. I really don't watch the story. I just want to finish the levels. I want to talk to my friends that I'm on this level, I've completed this level, how to complete this level, what are the mods, what I can do in this. So yeah, for me, I don't really go through the story part of the game most of the times. In some cases, yes, I do watch the story. It might be interesting, but when you are going through a simulation, you really want to be that character, and you have, I mean, we will be talking about metaverse, I'm sure, but yeah, I don't feel that we are living the story that we live in movies, in the video games.
okay.
Okay, so like just stretching that point. Uh, to what like point, like at what point do you like, like Altaz, because you're working in that, field right now, like game developing. So like, at what point does like the game become like just coding to like a work of art? So like as Aman was saying, like even though the levels may be like pre-written that it ends in a certain way, it's still like, someone has to go through that whole process of like, creating characters at like specific points, giving them challenges or tasks that even as a player, if you feel that you are a part of that story, at what point does it just become like from programming to like a whole like world of just putting your ideas and like generating a whole like a world out of it?
From my point of view, coding or engineering is just 10% of it. 90% of it is creativity and the story writing. I know I just said that it's not story in video games, but yeah, 90% of it is character development, character formation. What powers does a character have? What levels would it have? What screenplay, what background, and what colors you have to use? What how do you want to play with the player? I mean, emotionally or psychologically. So that's 90% of it. I don't think there is coding, but it's not a as important part as creativity, or you are basically an artist, not a developer while you are developing video games.
Interesting. Like I usually when I think about like developing a video game, in my head is like there are a bunch of coders in a dark room with hoodies. Okay, this is like the hacker thing, but like 10 coders typing away at their keyboards, like just trying to create a level. But obviously that doesn't make sense. Yeah,
The
maybe
amount of time you model a character, you rig a character is much more than coding. So
Yeah,
after a point, it
makes
is
sense.
graphic.
Yeah,
I
because
mean,
you
even
can't
like
just
movies.
code. Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry. Yeah. Okay. Even in like movies, we see that the whole idea of developing something, like it could be anything, be it a game or like even like a site, for example. They have like put more importance on the idea that you have to code it rather than like you're going through a whole journey of creating it. And I think that's why like people are kind of like against games. It's like it's like a simple code, like you just run through it and like that's it. But like once you understand like the whole aspect of like watching the story for what it was like, the whole time that was given to it to create that whole story, if you don't watch it, like that's 90% of the person who's creating it like all down the drain. So I think that idea has to be like presented. And as Aman said, YouTubers like Jacksepticeye, like they're putting that forth, that idea, running through the whole storyline instead of just like speed running their like process of like just completing a level.
Yeah. So okay. So when you say speed running, it just came to my head. In speed running, there are different categories. That okay, you finish it, especially Minecraft speed running. You finish the game when you kill the dragon, right? That's how the game is supposed to end. That's how the speedrunners think that okay, that's the end of the game. But Minecraft didn't technically. It doesn't end the game there, because after even I don't know if you guys are well versed with Minecraft.
Yeah, the end.
But
If you kill the Ender Dragon,
yeah,
yeah,
but even
you're
if you
still
kill
there.
the Ender Dragon, you still can go ahead and explore and get an Elytra and stuff, right? It's
Yeah.
like the end of the game is not there. Minecraft is a sandbox game. It's not going to end. But Alta said that, hey, in a movie, you get, this cathartic experience that, okay, that's the end of the story. But my question is, in today's world, what movies give you a satisfying ending without setting up a sequel? Because what I see in usually a lot of Marvel movies, they are like, okay, this is a Marvel movie, but this entire movie is just a filler for the next big event, which is going to come, which is like the end game level event. And I like with the Marvel Phase 4 coming up, we're like, okay, we have all these shows, but they are just setting up for something bigger. Even the entire Hawkeye show, amazing show, amazing stuff, but it was still setting up for the Kingpin reveal, which is a spoiler alert. If you haven't seen it, that's on you. It's been 3 months. But a lot of even Loki, the entire Loki show, has been just setting up the reveal of an entire villain, which is going to show up after 3 years. So do you think that's more satisfying. Like, okay, if you watch a show, let's say Stranger Things, because Stranger Things does this, it always ends on a cliffhanger, which is very frustrating. So like you watch 10 episodes, you spend more than 10 hours of your life, if you binge watch it. Would you rather not play a video game in those hours? And, a video game just gives you a better satisfying experience. That's my question.
Answering to that, Stranger Things as a community. I mean, you discuss what will be happening in the next part. What can you expect? But in video games, honestly, how many different stories do you know about video games? There's a hero, he fights the dragon, gets the princess, gets married, finished. So the amount of influence that movies have is really big. I mean, honestly, in my personal experience, if I watch a series, I am that character for a point of time. I get huge. I mean, I'm very much influenced by the character. But with video games, you are influenced by the character, but you don't directly get to. I mean, I'm not getting the word, but you cannot directly relate with the character, right?
But you are the character. But in a video game, you are playing that character.
It's how, I mean, you know that it's a fictional character, but after watching suppose Suits, I mean, I really wanted to be really wanted to be a lawyer. I used to think what would Harvey do, how would he react, how can I be more alpha. So the influence that series and movies have, I don't think video games have that kind of influence. And yeah, I do think that it's just a time pass. So you are in a train, you want to just while away your time, you'll just open a game and play. So yeah, I do believe movies.
No, but okay,
that so kind of
that does make sense. There are some things that you cannot put into your video game. A video game about Flash would be stupid because Flash is overpowered. There's nothing you can do. A video game about Superman is stupid. There's nothing you can do. A video game about Suits. I don't know how you would like that. Would have to be a visual.
Technically, yeah, exactly. It would be like a story with like a few choices here and there.
Yeah. So it would just then be a visual novel, which at that point is a mixture between anime and just making choices. But Netflix had this, right? Netflix had this play along for what's that show which has this dystopian Black Mirror. So they had this play along game inside the Play Store that you can actually play the entire episode of the Black Mirror is a game on the Netflix app. So you can just play the entire episode by yourself and you can make choices that would lead to different cliffhangers and stuff.
Have you played the Black Mirror game?
I have not. I have heard about it, but I really
suppose if I have played the game. No, sorry. That was a different game. Sorry. But if I had played the game, I don't think the influence that the Black Mirror series or the video thing gave me, I don't think I would be that much into thoughts when I play the game. I mean, the game would be simply, okay, I have to do this, I have to do that. But the amount of thought that you put into a thing after watching the video, like, yeah, yesterday you suggested me the Snowden on Netflix, Snowden series or documentary, sorry. So I'm still in that phase. I mean, I'm still thinking about data, what would my camera is on, and I might be a victim. And so the amount of influence and the amount of the change that you can experience in your life, video games cannot do that directly. And yeah, it's a waste of time, as I'm saying.
I mean, I truly agree with that point. So, like, of course, like visual hints that we get from like videos and audio hints that we get from like, podcasts, let's say, for example, you can't replicate that in like video games. But one point that is that, like how far can you stretch a video game? So like if we take the example of GTA, they have a lot of DLC mods that keep on coming. Like, so every time the game starts, dying down, they have a DLC mod. And like there are other mods that you can like download. For example, as Aman said, you can't have a game on Flash, but you can definitely have Flash in GTA. So, that aspect of I don't know how to say that, but like you involve the whole world and like the series of events that occur in like the real world. You just put them in like a game, and you're almost playing that character while you're already like enjoying the game. So like that whole idea of how much can you stress a game versus like how much can you like continue with the series. I think games have more potential than like any video sources.
Okay.
Definitely, both the things have their pros and cons. But yeah, because GTA is my favorite game, I do relate to that point.
No, but okay. So when you say that in a movie or a show, you just sit back and let the character influence you, right? I guess it's just more of an active passive thing. That because in games you have to actively make choices, and if you don't make choices, you are stuck on that level, right? But there are ways to mitigate that. In theory, as I said, you can just go on in YouTube and let the 10-hour Assassin's Creed Valhalla entire walkthrough playthrough, and you can just sit, have popcorn, and chill. Because I have done that. You can just sit and watch the entire Assassin's Creed origin story or the entire Valhalla series, because I think they are, once again, I think it's more about the art. Because once again, if I would be playing that game and I've played Assassin's Creed Black Flag, I do not remember the story when I was playing the Black Flag, because it was just so stressing. It's like, okay, now I have to hijack this pirate ship and I have to do this. But after a few years, recently I just, searched up Black Flag, and I sat down and I went through the entire story. I just watched it. I didn't play it. And I think that was a more rewarding experience. Now, yes, sometimes you have to watch a game to like understand that, okay, this is the story, instead of just playing through it. But I guess it depends on what kind of a approach you have, active or passive, with any media, or what kind of a person, like what kind of a game genre it is. Is it a visual novel? Is it a grinding game? Is it a strategy simulation? Usually simulation games don't have like a story. There's no story to Among Us. You are just are on a ship. Now there are Easter eggs. You can go and find the lore of the, like, okay, why are these people on a ship? But Among Us is just Among Us. So I guess that kind of wraps it up. I don't know if you guys agree or
Just
not.
to add to the point, just because I was so much against video games, I do believe video games are a great part of our lives, because it triggers the parts of brain that movies cannot or series cannot. It gives you that problem solving attitude, or the approach that you gain from video games is completely different. And yeah, video games are a great thing. I'm not against video games. It's just like, while comparing those two things, I think video games have a lesser influence as
I mean,
compared to other things.
that's not fair. Like, if I don't think it's fair comparing, let's say, Avengers Endgame and some, I don't know, video game. Because
I mean,
if
take Avengers game for example. Like
okay,
you can't.
that's bad.
Yeah,
I don't
exactly. So
think we
I
can
mean, you
swear
can't.
on the podcast, but it's really
That
freaking
is,
bad.
yeah, true, very
But
true.
because see, these studios, the movie studios, they have a big budget. They have a really, really big budget, and video game developers, I don't think they get enough recognition. Once again, sometimes the indie games from, indie developers, like small developers, they will be a piece of work that's like really amazing. But then you have the entire Avengers series, which is just total, bad stuff. So yeah, yeah, that's my
That's what
comment on
happens when you
Avengers.
force a game. You cannot force a game. I mean,
Yeah, yeah,
games
makes
are a
sense.
totally different thing.
Yeah,
Imposing that create a game on Avengers won't necessarily have that impact that indie games might have. So
true, makes sense. I mean, if you're basing a game off of a movie or a show, it either will go horribly wrong, or at best it will perform marginally better. There's no, I mean, I'm gonna say it, there's no way PS4 Spider-Man does as good as Spider-Man No Way Home. There's just, it doesn't make sense. It's not gonna happen. It does marginally better, which is a miracle. But there have been Spider-Man games in the past which were,
That have gone horribly wrong.
yeah, the
Very true.
Amazing Spider-Man game to bad stuff. Really. You swing from the sky. There's no, you just swing from the sky in an invisible, like, are you swinging through what? What's up there in the sky?
The barrier that's like,
The
stopping you
game
from.
barrier.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we can like take this point further into like, the whole idea of like being like not passively but actively involved by like, so like what we were talking about is like, just 2D and 3D games. Like, but there are like possibilities now where you can like literally physically be actively involved in games. Like, take VR for example. Like, you just in the game, literally. You have the whole headset, your movements are the movements of the character. And then like the same question rises as to how much of an influence will you have if you are literally like, experiencing with a first person point of view what the character is experiencing. Like that changes the whole aspect of, okay, I'm on a keyboard, I'm controlling the character versus I'm moving and the character is moving. So like that comprehension of, the connection between you and the character then does not like remain on a level of you just working your keys.
But then again, there's also the that's a good segue into a VR segment too. That's really nice. But then again, the issue is in VR there will be two kinds of theme. One is just a sit back, relaxing experience, not relaxing, but a less interactive version of the already played out movie. Or the second one is where you can just sit down and mess up as many as things as you want. So Boneworks VR, a best physics engine. You can literally do whatever you want inside that game. You can do pull-ups, you can jump around, you can shoot stuff. It really depends on what you want. The story is like it's there, but it's on you how you finish that story. And then the first category is like movie games or interactive movies would be you sit back, you put on a VR goggles, and you go through the entire movie through some character or some actor's perspective. So I think those are the two types. Also, we will take a short break. Okay, welcome back, people. Oh, we are doing it. Okay, 3, 2, 1. Okay, fine. Just guys, assume that was a proper transition. Anyways, welcome back to our podcast. Hopefully, we will talk about our sponsors. Our sponsor for this episode is Raid Shadow. Okay, I'm just kidding. We don't have a sponsor, but wouldn't that be cool, huh? But yeah, anyways, welcome back to our podcast. Hopefully, we'll now be going in the line of, yes, Altaz apparently wants to say something, but then it disappeared. Normal Zoom issues. But yeah, hopefully we'll be going into the VR versus metaverse, all that discussion. So I'm just going to ask Aline a very simple question. Have you tried VR ever?
Yes, indeed, I have. And it was the first time I tried it was a very confusing experience because I didn't know what to do exactly. Like the first time, like if someone is putting on the VR headset for the first time, it will be like very confusing because like when you're rotating your head, it's the game is like, or whatever you're doing is like happening, but then your brain can't function that, it's like not existent. So I think that it was a very fun experience. And I think like the more times I like tried it on, the better my brain was able to comprehend. But it is something that, is the future, because like if that is already where we have reached, there are so many more possibilities of what can happen.
Okay. Altaz, what about you? Have you tried
I
VR?
really don't think that VR is specifically the VR that we have now is the future, because we are just figuring out the future. I mean, for a technology to reach to masses, you try out different things and something works out eventually. But the VR and metaverse that we have right now is not the version I think that would be appealing to the masses, because it's a toy for the enthusiasts, just nothing else.
Have
So
you
I
tried it?
watched
Have you tried it though? That's my question. Have you
the
tried VR?
not the metaverse, because it's in US
Not,
and
not the
Canada. But
metaverse, just a normal VR
yeah,
headset. Have you
normal
tried it?
VR I have tried. Yeah, I watched VR videos on YouTube, and I've made some games for VR. I mean, I tried to made some game.
Okay.
So right, it's for the metaverse. I don't think that we have reached that point to be precise, because I watched a video on by the Wall Street Journal where she's experiencing VR for 24 hours. Sorry, the metaverse for 24 hours. So I don't get the use case of what we can actually do with the metaverse. So yeah, it's just like games and stuff. Some people,
Okay,
most of the people would
okay.
not.
I'm so sorry to interrupt, but we will get into that. But I genuinely want to ask your, like, not your opinion, but how was your experience when you tried VR for the first time? Like, what happened? How was the experience when you put
It,
on the VR headset?
I think it might be the issue of the device, but I didn't find VR that polished right now because yeah, it needs a lot of work, to be honest.
Okay,
And yeah, the
was it a
gas that you
normal?
would use along with VR.
Sorry,
Sorry.
I was just saying, was it a normal VR headset like a Valve Index or an Oculus Rift, or was it like, one of those Google VR card box thingies?
No, not Google Car. It was a proper VR
It
headset.
was a proper
So
VR headset. Okay,
yeah,
well,
so to
just
experience
confirming.
it fully, you would need lots of gears to feel that
Yeah,
thing. So I didn't have that. So I
makes sense.
didn't find it that interesting.
So okay, when I tried VR for the first time, I was just on a holiday in Mumbai, and in one of the malls they had this. I believe it was Call of Duty or Modern Combat Shooter, and they had this treadmill kind of thingy. So they just put VR on you. They give you a gun prop, and you just control the gun like with your hand. You just aim with that gun, and you even run. So they put that thing around your waist, and you can actually run on that. I believe it's called an omni wheel or something. So you can run in whatever direction.
All
And
four directions.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And if you duck down, the character ducks down in a game. I think that was a phenomenal experience. This is what 2014 or 15 that I'm talking about. It's very old, but like maybe it's just nostalgia thing that hey, it was better. But I genuinely felt the control with the gun. Like you could actually pick up the gun, point it at someone, and you can shoot. And I believe it was like a shipment map or something. But that genuinely felt interactive. It felt like as if I was there. And because of the gear, you still have to put on a lot of wires and stuff, right? It felt like I was a soldier, and now I'm carrying what 20 kilos of random, guns and stuff. So
There.
yeah, like random gear that I'm just having. I
I'm sure
personally
with the
think,
gas, it's easier.
yeah, but I think that experience was nice. I've tried the other VR, like with the Google Cardboard, like you put your smartphone in and stuff. It was okay. I've like on even on YouTube. If you go on YouTube and if you search for 360 degree, roller coaster videos and stuff, you can try it. I made my mother try it. She was like, "Wow, it feels like I'm right there." But like, yeah, I guess it's I think it's the future, not the current technology. Obviously, we're going to have much better technology, but I think VR is the future. And I don't want to use the word metaverse because that's literally why Facebook renamed itself to Meta to have this entire marketing thing. There's not a single metaverse. I mean, it's really obvious. It's obvious for you too. I'm just going to let the audience know. There's no single metaverse. Every other company is working on their own version of a virtual reality landscape, right? So one awesome movie to watch about this would be, like VR and stuff would be Ready Player One. Or you just read the book. Book is much better than the movie. But if you just want to see the visuals and stuff, I think the world that they have in Ready Player One is, I think that's the kind of the future that we might
It's
have for
like a
VR.
demo for what metaverse could be. It's
Yes.
like,
Yeah. Also,
I mean, I think,
sorry. So there's also this movie by Ryan Reynolds, Free Guy, but
yeah, Free Guy, yeah.
it's more of a GTA 5 game instead of a VR thingy. But just assume that. But yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think before going into like talking more about what, the future of VR is and like the future of that, I think Aman or Altaz, if you could, clarify like the whole concept of metaverse, because I think a lot of people like even like a few days back, I was confused on like the whole idea of metaverse because of like the genius marketing by Facebook, the whole current scenario is like to most people who like are not very deeply involved in this, it's like okay, metaverse, meta, same thing. So, I mean, you could just like tip off what like the whole idea of metaverse is.
Okay, I'm just
So I
gonna.
could go.
Sorry, Altaf, before you go ahead, just a tiny thing snippet from my end. I am not gonna call Facebook Meta. That is my personal thing. I absolutely hate those guys, and it's a total marketing ploy. So it's Facebook and Facebook only. Altaf, go ahead.
So what my idea of metaverse is exactly Ready Player One. So yeah, you are into a virtual world and you wear VR headset. You have a bunch of controls. You are in a simulation. You are living your life in a virtual environment where you can do a lot of things. Like there can be trading, or there can be you can sell NFTs. You can buy plots of lands, or you can date example, or you can chill, you can hang out, you can have meetings, you can have social interactions, you can have board meetings. So yeah, that's my idea of metaverse from what I understood it. So
Okay.
Aman, would you like to add?
Yeah. My idea of metaverse is I mean, sure. So technically speaking, anything done through the technology, which like metaverse is just doing stuff that we normally do, but with technology. So if you're watching a movie, now you're watching a movie inside a cinema. Like you are putting the VR goggles and now you feel like you are inside the cinema along with your friends, even though your friends might be millions of miles away. Which, okay, not millions, thousands of miles away.
I mean, if Elon Musk, succeeds,
Yeah,
it's possible.
sure, million miles away. But the latency, though, that would take 20 minutes for a single light beam, a single data packet traveling.
That would be a problem.
Imagine this Zoom delay, but 20 minutes. That's bad. But yeah, okay. So in my head, it's just whatever we are doing. Because of COVID, everything has been turned online. So now there are virtual offices. And there have been numerous studies on this, right? That this actually helps out employees, because now they're at home, they are feeling work fatigue and stuff, they are not being able to socialize much. Now there's an entire virtual office for them to just go and hang around in while doing work, and now they can actually just talk with people and socialize. So that's one aspect. Also, my question to you is, does this count as a metaverse? Hold on, I'm just gonna make something.
Okay,
Does this count?
A metaverse.
Yeah, does this count as a metaverse? Now I'm sitting in it. I don't know if this is going to show up on recording, so I'm just going to take a screenshot. But does this count as a metaverse? Because now I'm sitting in a class and you guys are sitting there. It's like role playing, but I don't know.
Next level.
Yeah. So also for some reason, Aline is through the seat.
Yeah, it's magic.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, Altaz, you were saying something.
I forgot. Sorry.
Oh, that's fine. That's fine. Take your time.
Definitely not a good idea to wear a green t-shirt.
Yeah.
So for the audience, a metaverse app was actually pitched into Shark Tank. So I think it got investment, but not because of the metaverse thing, just because of the investor. But yeah, if you are a fan of Shark Tank, it was in Shark Tank India.
Okay, I'm so sorry. I'm just having a lot of fun with this. Okay, it's see, this is okay. By the way, for people, I have no idea if this is. I hope this is showing up in the recording, or it's just gonna.
It'll be very funny if it's not. Like we're just laughing on random stuff.
Anyways, so this is me just goofing around with the Zoom. I'm just gonna go back.
Bring me back.
Yeah. Let's go back.
That's better.
Yeah. Okay. So what Alta says does kind of make sense. Also, I totally kind of blanked out on what he said, but I in all seriousness, it does make sense. But as I was saying, for me, metaverse is something like you could read the Harry Potter books, right? You could watch the Harry Potter movies. But if I told you, what if you could ride the dragons from Harry Potter, the Goblet of Fire? Or what if you could ride that flying horse? What was his name? Buck or something from The Prisoner of Azkaban? Or what if you could have an actual magic duel with the He Who Shall Not Be Named? What if you could do that in VR? Isn't that cool? Like you cannot fly dragons into the real life, but we are
I
just
think you would just be getting a first person view, nothing else. I mean, you won't be getting the experience of riding forget a unicorn or something. You won't be getting an experience of riding a horse. So you
I mean,
won't be
no,
getting
it
that.
is.
why not though?
It is
Why
possible.
not?
Like, the 5D movies, like the small theaters,
Yeah, so
they
there are
have like a
4D
lot of,
movies.
yeah, exactly. The seat movements that you get, like,
Yeah.
there
Okay.
are
So
brushes
yeah,
and things.
in a properly constructed or specifically dedicated zone, you can do it, right? But when I'm talking about metaverse, what my idea is like today we are using Instagram. So at 12 p.m., I thought I want to use Instagram. I can do that. So with metaverse, it's not really that thing. Oh, okay, with technology, we can eventually do that, but not at this point, I guess.
Okay.
Okay,
Now,
I
so,
mean, yeah, sorry.
yeah, sorry. Taking the side of the public, not taking the side, but like presenting the points that a lot of people have against metaverse. I think the main aspect of opposing an idea of like putting a lot of your time into a virtual world is, from what I know, like from my conversations. I think a lot of people don't understand that there is a whole world out there which allows you to make money online, and like you don't have to necessarily put in the same amount of work offline to get that source of income. Because as of now, a lot of people, if you randomly start a conversation with someone on like shifting your entire life online, they'll probably be like, you're just wasting time. So that idea of like the management of time, on something that is real, that is like the real world, and something that is like virtual, but like the acceptance of it not being real is, I think, the main pinnacle of people either being with it or being against it.
But what's the point of metaverse? You can do all those things in today's technology, right? In Web
You can't
2.0
fly a
basically.
dragon. The only
No,
reason
I'm not
I'll
talking
get
about
a
flying dragons. I'm not talking about flying dragons. You can make money. You can do everything else. So what metaverse is it's just an artistic experience, or just a let me put it in a very blunt way. It's just time pass, according to me. So yeah, you can have various experiences. Not I'm not denying that, but yeah, it's not. It doesn't have a use case. I mean, that's not a problem that thousands of engineers need to solve right now. There are bigger problems that we can address. So I don't think we really need metaverse right now. Yeah, research is important. I'm totally agreeing to that. But is metaverse really important?
I have a
Uh,
counter question. Why are books important? Books, movies, games. Why are those things important? We don't need to put the same amount of research in doing amazing world class CGI that we have right now, right? I like if when you say that metaverse, like we can do better things with it. That's the same argument that can be used that hey, why spend so much time in movies or plays? I agree. It's metaverse from my perspective, it's not just a means of entertainment, but I think it's a way for people to interact. It's just the next evolutionary step. I personally think that because let's say people are miles apart, and the only way they talk to each other, we are literally miles apart. We are in three different cities. And the reason we are talking right now is because of technology. Now, metaverse just gives a higher higher form of interaction or a higher immersive mode that hey, now I can not just see Aline sitting there, but I can see Aline standing around, running around when we are having a Zoom meeting. And I think that's worth it. Also, okay, one
is
more thing.
is that metaverse? Just to be clear, I mean,
Sorry.
what you see in Iron Man movies, like a person is standing right there. So not with the VR. I'm talking about without wearing the VR or anything. You could have gears in your house and everything like that. But is that metaverse?
For me, metaverse, once again, as I said, it's the entire ecosystem that comes with this. It's not just VR. I mean, metaverse inherently, by definition, has to be inside a VR world. But I don't see why it cannot be an AR or augmented reality thing, right? Let's just have a base definition of metaverse for just this discussion. uh, for me, metaverse is the virtual reality world that you enter when you put on your VR goggles. That's my definition of the metaverse. In that metaverse, obviously the technology right now is in its infancy, but in that metaverse you could drive around cars, you could do whatever you want in real life that you already do, but you can do it in a better way, which is accessible for you. At the moment, if you want to go to space, it's more than $500 million. In the metaverse, it's literally nothing. Okay, that's my definition of metaverse. I hope that's our base definition, and I hope that makes sense. Because I think VR as okay now. See, VR and metaverse. I'm gonna use those words interchangeably, but for people who are paralyzed, or for people who have disabilities, they cannot go out in the world and run around. They don't have the luxury of doing that, and that personally sucks. I think that's really bad. But through VR, they can meet their friends, and they can hang around in a virtual space where they can do what their friends do. It's in a way that's the most equal you will ever be with someone else. I know this is getting way too into equality and stuff, but that's the only way you will ever be as equal to someone. Because even if you are
That's the
ultra,
best use case of metaverse, according to me, for disabled people.
yeah, because in the metaverse you are technically the same. Also, like anything that could be made digitally, if there's a car, like you don't have to be rich or poor for you to have that car. It's just a piece of code. Also, I mean there are some people who'll just make an NFT of the car, so now you can't have it. But we don't need that NFT version of the car. We can, believe me, if there are open source projects right now, there will be open source projects for the metaverse. So you could, in theory, do everything that the other person is doing. There's no, wage gap. There's no discrimination, hopefully. So I personally think that's why it's the future. I would hate it to be the Facebook's metaverse. I would rather it be some open source project or some trusted company, but that's my definition. And I've talked for a long time. Go ahead.
Okay, so like one point that I would like to pick from that is that the idea of it not being a game. I mean, if people are able to accept the fact that VR is not only for gaming, then I think metaverse would have like a more genuine response than like the current response it's getting. I mean, the feedback currently is that yes, you have a lot of stuff, but then the back end thought of like you're still in a game. I mean, if that is removed and it's looked as like an alternative to any social media apps as of now. So take for example Instagram. If you're posting a photo, how about you create a whole scene on metaverse? So like that idea of presenting yourself, if that is if that is the mindset that people think, it like metaverse will definitely have like a bigger acceptance. And I think as Aman said, open source, like if metaverse is an open source thing, that then is like almost the best possible world that we can have as of now. Because then without the fear of someone else copying your stuff, it's like what's accessible to one is also accessible to the other and to everyone else who's a part of it. So then like the idea of like, oh, I need to purchase this in order to get this, only then can I be friends with that guy. Or like, in the real world, even if you want to go out, you still need to go out. Like, what if that's not the case? What if you want to meet someone, but you actually can't? And then you don't have metaverse. And then you just stuck there, like just thinking. So like that, I think the only thing that's stopping metaverse from like, not the technology, of course, because that's in an infant stage, it will like definitely be like unimaginably better than what it is right now. But like the idea of accepting it as like something way more than a game, I think that's the only thing that stops people from like, it's the same thing as like online currency. So like people who are against it, they have like a completely different mindset, and people who are like with it see it like from a different mindset. So the only way, like, you get the best of both worlds is to like accept it as it is, like no other mindsets involved.
So digital currencies serve a purpose, right? They are not centralized. So what's the purpose of metaverse? I mean, what can you do with metaverse? I'm sorry, my dog is barking, but what can you do with the?
What's the name of your dog? What's the name of your dog?
Her name is Shanok.
Okay. We can play with her.
Can we see the dog? See, if this was a
we can play
metaverse,
with. Exactly.
if this was a metaverse, you would be playing with Altaz's dog, even though a virtual version. That's one use case. You can play with people's dogs. And
how about I send her photo on the group?
Oh yeah, you can send it on the group. We'll put it on the YouTube later.
Like Altaz asked. Yeah, exactly. Very important question. Like, like a lot of people are promoting metaverse. A lot of people are, like putting it down. I think, as like we discussed, the whole idea of it is like whatever you want to do, you do with it. So like for me, metaverse would be like it's like this thing that just God has given you something, and like whatever you want it to be, it becomes that. So like that's technically metaverse. Like if you want it to be a certain thing, that's your metaverse. If like Altaz wants it to be a certain thing, that's his metaverse. So it's like you creating your own mini world where you are in control, which is not the case like most of the times in our real world. So I think that for me, that is like the biggest use of metaverse.
Also,
do you think just because we can do it, should we do it? I mean, yeah,
okay,
we can do a lot.
Altaz, before we get with the should we do it, or like while doing it, we forgot to question that should we done it. That's the entire Jurassic Park debate. We're not going to get into that, but just for the audience to know, metaverse, when someone says metaverse, it seems like a very centralized thing, that when someone says the internet, it's like, okay, internet is out there, okay, you go on the internet, but in reality, internet is just a bunch of networks, right? So it's just one server to another server. And yeah, sure, big corporations own a gigantic part of the internet. Like Amazon Web Services is like what, 60% of the entire network. But in metaverse, just the same way you can set up your own server right now, there's no reason for you to not be able to set up your own metaverse yourself, right? There's no reason you cannot do that. There's no reason for you, like, just the same way we set up a Zoom meeting in metaverse, we can set up my entire own metaverse, which could be as huge as I want it to be. Like, the only limiting factor would be my hardware. At that point, why not just, use like the same way we have cloud computing? Why not just put the entire metaverse and put it in the cloud, and you just pay a monthly rent or whatever, right? I don't see how that would be a issue in the future. So I don't want people to think that, metaverse is a...
do you think is metaverse? I mean,
how practical do you think?
Okay.
I
can scroll through my phone while sleeping, while in the train, while I am doing something. So how practical do you think is metaverse? According to me,
how practical do you think is Netflix?
I mean, Netflix serves a purpose of showing movies and series, so you can interact with.
So the same way, I personally think metaverse serves a purpose, and that is to let people meet up and interact. I that's my personal opinion. That's how I think.
It's just a VR Zoom. That's your idea of metaverse?
Yeah, it's just VR is just the way. It's just the road to metaverse universe. Also, is this just my internet or Altaz's stuff? Okay, perfect. Cool. So in my head, VR is just a tool that we are using the same way our cell phones are the tool that we use to get Snapchat or Instagram, or you're watching this on YouTube. Hopefully, you are listening to this on some other thing. So yeah, it's just a tool that we use to access those services. That's what I think.
Okay, so I think like a better way to like transition. Okay.
That's
I
fine.
think Altaz
He'll be back. He'll
Yeah.
be back.
Okay. So I think a better way of transitioning from what you were saying is then it's like we don't want to keep on talking about like should we have it, should we not have it. The idea then becomes like, okay, metaverse is here, it's not going anywhere. How
It's already
affordable
here.
can they make it?
Yeah, I think the companies are going to make it very affordable. They just want more data, and this is the privacy and security part of the metaverse, which I don't. Sadly, we don't have enough time to talk about it. Yeah, we can do a completely different podcast. Let us know in the comments if you want that. But yeah, companies are going to make it very affordable. Facebook provides free internet in India to some parts. They have a tie-up with the government, and they can just use Facebook services free of cost because they want more people to join. And Altaz is back. But yeah, that's that Facebook is doing it. So it's going to be perfectly affordable. I don't think that's an issue. Also, I want people to know there are buzzwords right now. The same way we had buzzwords before, like, crypto, stock, blah, 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 all that stuff. Right now, the buzzwords are, try saying that 3 times. Web 3.0, DApps, decentralization, metaverse, all that stuff. Those are buzzwords. Please do not, because I see a lot of reels on Instagram which just say, these are the 10 things that you need to know about. These are the 10 topics that you need to know about if you want to survive in the next year. And that's just stupid. You don't need to know about how Web 3.0 works just to use it. Like, I don't understand. Like, sure, I know the basics, but I don't understand how the touchscreen on my phone works. I don't need to know how it works in order for me to use it. Just the same way, you guys don't need to know how YouTube works for you to just click on another video and watch it, right? So do not get into that, the hype train, because I get a lot of messages like, Aman, what's Web 3.0? What is DX? I'm like, you don't need to know that. You don't need to understand the entire blockchain. You don't need to understand the entire how Indian rupee falls up and down or how that works for you to just spend money. So those are the buzzwords, and I think people need to be very careful of that. But I think we are almost running out of time, and we will call it a wrap unless you guys have something to say. Otherwise, I'm just gonna call it a wrap. So Altaz.
I think we've covered up a lot of stuff, and like whatever is left, we can surely.
Yeah, I mean, we can just. That's more content for us. It's more stuff to talk about later. But yeah, I think
me add it, since because I was disconnected, I couldn't make my point. What metaverse is right now is just a VR version of Zoom meetings, and where you can do some stuff. So I don't think that's the metaverse you should be looking for. I mean, there is a lot of research going on in human communications, and there will be more in this metaverse space. But what we are right now, we are in the just because financial markets and mainstream media popularized the word metaverse doesn't mean it is that useful. I think we are yet to develop more and figure out what can we exactly do with metaverse. And believe me, my honors subject is virtual and augmented reality. I know that it's not of that use. It's not that much of a use right now.
Altaz keeps on shooting. Altaz keeps on shooting himself in the foot. This is my subject. I'm a video game developer. But this is
okay. Yeah, I mean, I have genuinely spent days and weeks studying about it and how can it be used. So I don't really get a use case right now, except for VR meetings, which are not that useful apparently. So yeah, that's just my point of view, guys. And
okay, makes sense.
I think like an appropriate way to end what we have started is to leave it open to the comments.
Yeah,
because
makes sense.
I think, again, as we said, the metaverse is something, it's different for everyone. So we can't dictate what others want or should or shouldn't have in their own world. And like we even at this stage, we can't agree on like, is metaverse good? Is metaverse bad? Is it going to be there? Is it not going to be there? So like we can just leave it open for the comments, and then we go through it and maybe address it in one of the SNLs or the other podcast.
Yeah, makes sense. Just to call it a wraps, just to summarize, people, metaverse is an ongoing thing. We are not experts in any matter except for in our own fields. So it's an ongoing development thing. We could be wrong. There might be some things which we might have guessed wrong. So just, that's the disclaimer. And for some reason, the disclaimer is at the end of the podcast, which is like the Doctor Strange dialogue, like, hey, they should put warning before the spells, but whatever. Anyways, if you guys are actually excited to watch, podcasts like these, hopefully Aline and Altaz they are our recurring people on the podcast. And so hopefully we will see you guys in the next episode. Also, to make sure, we are very close to 1,000 subscribers. So if you could like, share, and subscribe, do that. And also let your friends know that now there's an Estudely Metaverse podcast. Estudely Normal podcast. So yeah, that's basically it. Also, we have an amazing Telegram community. This is just a run-of-the-mill dialogue. Go and check out the Telegram community, because you will get to interact. I mean, you to interact with me, but you will get to interact with Altaz and Aline over there as well. To get more of their information, I'll drop down their respective LinkedIn or Instagram links. But yeah, that's basically it. Thank you so much for watching and have a good day. I played it in a sense, a feel of discontent. I'm finally facing it all, fearless. Fearless.